The following is an EHC media production.
Yo, alright, get my face. It is March 23rd, 2018. WrestleMania is like 2 weeks away. And, as you know, I went to Elimination Chamber. That was amazing. But as far as I knew, I wasn't going to be able to make it to WrestleMania because of a lot of issues. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time off work. It's a lot of I'm scared to fly. It's a lot of issues. But this sounds crazy to say, but I think it might have all gotten worked out. I think I might be going to WrestleMania.
I got my fist in the air, screaming black power. I feel like Tookie Williams' last hour. We used to stand for something, but most niggas is cowards. Took rows to bars to sit down, so I'm pro-black like the pigs with the fist now. 80s, crack exists now. All these babies going crazy cause these ladies smoking daily now. So tell me, how you really gonna say the chow when it's still running through our veins as a juvenile? If something's gonna change, you better do it now. Since this makes sense, we gonna start a movement now.
We gotta be doing something great.
It's time. It's time.
Who you trying to kid?
I do not give a damn.
Because you're too scared to do the job your goddamn self.
I need someone that's like, has that, some energy in them.
You guys know nothing about me.
I'm gonna take you out.
Promo climax time.
Promo climax.
Promo climax. You're all on fucking notice.
Either you rise or you fall. Rise or you fall. Either you rise or you fall.
Hey, what's up, wrestling fans? Okay, it's the quickest intro I've ever done in my whole life. Amir, join me in a second. We have one topic today, and that is, why the fuck are all these guys getting signed? Hang out one time, and I'll be right back with them. Okay, we are back. This is episode 2 of the Gorilla, or episode 3 of the Gorilla Position. Emir is with me. Hello, Emir.
Moses Marquez, hey man. The Gorilla Position, I think, is, first of all, awesome name for a show, and I'm digging it, man. I'm loving talking wrestling and talking wrestling news with you, brother. So, what do you got for me today, man? What's on the docket?
The docket, well, because we are on a tight time constraint, as we normally aren't, but it is what it is. Well, the only one topic to really talk about, other than how bad Raw has been, but we could go on for hours about that, is what's going on with all these signings. We have MLW making a bunch of signings, Ring of Honor making a bunch of signings, NXT making a bunch of signings, NXT UK, the list goes on. Guys like Walter, guys like newly named Jonah Rock, maybe heading to the regular NXT, not just NXT UK, and then of course all the names heading to Ring of Honor. Silas Young, the 50-year-old trying to make a comeback, PCO, and I want to say there was more. Am I missing other guys from Ring of Honor?
You mentioned everybody that I had heard of. So if there is somebody else, then it got by my radar. But I do think it's interesting. See, what's happening right now, man, is we're coming up on the end of the year, and that means that all at once there's the new wrestling promotion that's on its way in, All Elite Wrestling, and simultaneously WWE is no longer the dream destination that it used to be. So there are some people who still want to work at WWE because it's always been on their bucket list, but most people have smartened up to the idea that you can still make good money and you can actually wrestle how you want to wrestle if you go to some other promotions. So for the first time, in years, for the first time since WCW, WWE is actually having to compete to sign people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's the better options are out there now. Guys are willing to hang out in Japan. Guys are willing to go with these bigger indie promotions like an MLW, like a Ring of Honor. The money's there, and then with All Elite Wrestling possibly going through, I think unless they get a major network kind of a deal, it's not going to happen. These guys are not going to want to put in the work if they're not going to be on TV. And to you and me, the idea of not having them on TV is stupid. Like, what cable company, what cable channel would not want to put these guys on to provide us with a Tuesday Night Dynamite, which is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard. But in reality, is it going to be watchable? Is it going to be something to build with, your network? You know what I mean? Like how Access is slowly gaining a lot of viewers strictly from their reruns of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and a lot of people associate USA with the WWE. So, do you think they're going to get a major network deal? And if so, as random of a guess as you can make, who do you think would be like, fuck it, we got to sign these guys? They did do a thing with WGN America for the All In show. Maybe WGN wants to get back in the wrestling game. They had it when they were UPN many, many years ago.
I think that you're thinking big, which is nothing wrong with that. But I think there's at least one step that comes before that. And so here's my thought. My thought is All In was great. And, it was better than great. It was fantastic. But it was one event. And that's not going to be enough to get a major network, in my opinion. I think what they've got to do is they've got to start out, and this will help their pockets along the way. But if you want to know if there's truly interest in your product, just create an app. I think they got to create an AEW app, and they have to allow, and then they have to charge people, a subscription. Start out, $5.99, $6 a month, and then make sure you guys are putting on, a couple of house shows per week, maybe two house shows per week and a pay-per-view or something like that.
Now, see, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but where do you think these guys would be able to run house shows? The rumor has it that the guy that's trying to buy them is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you think this is going to be an East Coast promotion in the heart of Florida?
I think it's going to be in Florida because it would make sense since his operation's there to have it there. And, with it being in the same state as, as Full Sail and NXT, they'll compete with WWE in that respect. But I think, so if this guy, he's got some money to put behind it, it's like, this is what, I am just saying, this makes sense to me. It's kind of, this is essentially, if you work at Costco going, come get this free sample, and, if you like it, then buy the big bag. So create an app, you charge the $6 per month, and you put, a couple of, they find a place. Like Full Sail University is where NXT is featured at every week. They did that for a long time, and then once they garnered a good fan base, then they started traveling. But they started small. They went like, we just will shoot from this same location every week and see what happens. And then eventually they got big enough where they could travel, and then they got their own network specials, or what we knew as pay-per-views when we were kids. And I think that's the right formula for AEW. Start with an app, couple of house shows, couple of pay-per-views, always from the same location. Maybe get like a 1-year contract with them, 1-year lease or something like that to be in that building, and just produce a good show that's all about the wrestling and do whatever you're gonna do with the storylines, blah blah blah. And then if you start to get some traction and see where your subscription numbers go, that will let you then you can take those numbers to a big broadcasting network and go like, look, this is what we're doing just using an app. Imagine what we could do if we had you guys promoting us and we were on a major network.
No, I like the way you're thinking. I think an app is a lot more towards the fans, and people give it credit. It's like making a Facebook page. It's like making a Twitter account. It's like making an Instagram. It gives the fans a closer up close view. But if they can like stay in with it, be able to watch these house shows like you're saying, which they would obviously sell out. You know what I mean? If they're smart enough, they put them in the small buildings that all the other indies run. You got maybe 2,000 people guaranteed to sell out. You're streaming a couple of shows, maybe one every other month. Kind of make it special, gain traction for a year, and from between like say it actually happened. Say January 1st they announce it. They've already gotten their TV deal. Everything's already set in stone. Nobody knows nothing. And boom, it's already set, ready to go. These guys do it. A year into it, they take all the big talent. They're taking WWE talent. They're taking guys from Japan who want to stay in the States or willing to come to the States. They're willing to make, what do I want to say? Cross promotions. They'll probably attempt to work with Ring of Honor, attempt to work with possibly like a PWG, attempt to work with maybe a New Japan. The possibilities are endless. I feel like a lot of people, like how you said earlier, are still going to go to WWE because it is a bucket list thing, or it's a money thing, because that seems to be why everybody says that's, if I was about the money, I'd go there. Like, I mean, is it really just the money? Is the money that's the only thing that would drive you to WWE? Or is it still that boyhood dream? Is that really even a thing anymore?
Some people, it is a boyhood dream, but then there's people, and this will be a double-edged point here, because this doesn't bode well for WWE or AEW. But there's a man, the best bout machine, my favorite wrestler on the planet right now. His name is Kenny Omega, and the reason why he doesn't go to WWE is because he intentionally wants to be able to offer an alternative product. Also, he wants to put on the kind of matches that he wants to put on. He doesn't want somebody else telling him, all right, here's a list of 86,000 moves that you can't do. That's why he won't go to WWE, and why a lot of people won't go to WWE, because they don't want to be restricted. They want to wrestle, and they want to wrestle how they want to wrestle, and they want to love doing it. Now, here's the problem with AEW as pertains to Kenny Omega. Here's why Kenny Omega will not be fully committing to AEW. And when they say the elite, all elite wrestling, they're talking about Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks. You don't really see a lot of Kenny Omega being mentioned with this, because Kenny Omega is on record as saying, I like what I'm doing in New Japan. I want to build up New Japan. I won't be going to WWE because I got some important stuff that I'm still doing here. And I don't think that message has changed for him. He hasn't gotten off of that train. And I don't think Kenny Omega is likely going to go, and now I shall abandon New Japan and just do this whole AEW thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kenny Omega seems to appear anywhere because he loves wrestling. He'll do Ring of Honor. He'll do a lot of companies I've never even heard of. There's just matches of like Kenny Omega's wrestling people I've never heard of, and every match is a 5-star match. He makes anybody look good. So I think he will be heavily featured in AEW, but I think he'll also still continue to work in New Japan because he has so much of his heart and soul invested into that company and into that country, and he loves it. And that's tough because it's like he's one of the biggest names in wrestling right now. Can Cody Rhodes get Kenny Omega to fully come over to AEW and leave New Japan?
You know, that's where like the real questions begin because of all the talks behind the scenes of how everything is changing in New Japan, and a lot of guys are willing to leave because of these said changes. It's not the same management. They're aiming towards somewhat of a different direction. Maybe not so much U.S. based anymore. I mean, I don't see them pulling away from the U.S. They're obviously doing shows here like crazy. They're trying to get a fan base here, especially in the California area. But you're right. Kenny Omega has gone on record saying he has no real desire to leave New Japan. He wants to make a change. He wants to make it as big, if not bigger, than WWE, or at least the best he can get it. And he wants to be at the forefront. And for the most part, he is. But like I said, with the change of direction, with the change of I guess the in-house personnel, I can see maybe he would say, you know what, it's not going to go my way, and he can stick with AEW. But at the same time, I really think, if anything, these guys are just going to they're going to start this promotion, and they're going to try to get it bought out by Vince. Like, hey, Vince, buy us out and put us on the network. That's the only way we'll work for you. You make us your new OVW.
Well, here's something else. I have a question. I have a question for you, Moses Marquez. We've seen before Jeff and Matt Hardy came back to WWE, we saw a scene where the Young Bucks were in the ring. They had just defeated somebody to either retain or recapture the tag team titles. Then out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and Broken Matt Hardy came on the screen at the time. This is when they were still in Impact, and it was insane to see, because when you're not in WWE, you know what you have. You have something that's called maneuverability, as in you could turn on Impact Wrestling and see the Hardy Brothers. Also, you could turn on Ring of Honor, and there they are too. You could also look up a link on the internet to a bunch of other wrestling companies you never heard of, and they could be wrestling at any one of those companies on any given night. The same was true for the Young Bucks. The same was true for Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the list goes on. And they all wanted it to be that way, because why should we have to limit ourselves to one company? But my question for you, Moses Marquez, is this. Now that they're forming their own company, how do you think Cody Rhodes is going to feel when he signs some guys and they go, well, yeah, we still want to be able to pop up everywhere if we want to? Or do you think he'll have some sort of clause in his contracts where he's like, no, you guys need to be as devoted to AEW as I am. We can't get the brand off the ground if people could watch you anywhere. They need to only be able to see you exclusively here.
Now, see, here's my thing. I feel like Cody would be... I really don't think Cody would have that thought process, mainly because, his dad, NWA, the Mid-South, the whole, back in the 80s, things, you moved around territories to promote who you were as a performer. I think, but at the same time, I do think that he wants those guys that you are AEW guys. You are signed here, you're going to wrestle here, this is it, but they're going to allow a lot of guys to come in and out. So I think that's kind of how it would work. He has a handful of guys that are signed that are straight AEW guys, the Bucks, possibly Kenny, Hangman for sure. There's a list of guys that are quote unquote rumored for this whole thing, SCU, like pretty much the whole members, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, Scorpio Sky, rumors of up to 6 or 7 WWE current roster members, like the Club, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. The list goes on with the rumored, roster, but I think that's how they would do it. They would have a roster of maybe 15 to 18 guys where they're straight AEW wrestlers. And then they would bring in upwards of 12 maybe to compete on a weekly basis. You get a pop because, this guy's coming to AEW. Then this guy's coming to AEW, and then it's like, you know what I mean? You're building off of this, and you're allowing guys to come in and out like an NWA, But the question is, does it stay like NWA? And a lot of guys, because you're not an AEW wrestler, you're losing all the time.
So here's the thing then. Okay, so the Ring of Honor CEO has gone on record last week and plainly stated that it's obvious to him that the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, all these guys, he is not expecting them to return to Ring of Honor based on the fact that they're going to be doing their own thing and how he's so excited for them and he wishes them luck and he wants to see them succeed because it's good for the whole business if they do. Now, I think that's complete bullshit. I don't think he wants to see all of his cash cows walk out, but he's being gracious by saying that it's the right thing to say. But my question for you, Moses Marquez, when you got the CEO of Ring of Honor going on record as saying, I don't expect to see these guys in my organization anymore, does that mean we will never see Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, all these guys? We'll never see them in a New Japan ring either ever again? Like, because I haven't heard anything at New Japan about, are we never going to see them in New Japan? I mean, we got Wrestle Kingdom coming up. I mean, what's going on? Talk to me, man.
What I'm going to tell you really quick is just because they're not going to re-sign doesn't mean they're not going to make appearances, okay? I want to say Cody is already supposed to be, no, he's not, he's already stated he won't be doing the Madison Square Garden show, but that doesn't mean the Bucks won't do it, doesn't mean Kenny Omega won't do it, doesn't mean Hangman Page won't do it. Hangman is still working shows for Ring of Honor, you know what I mean? Kenny's obviously still going to be working shows for New Japan. I know there's nothing scheduled for the Bucks, but I'm sure they may squeeze them into the tag title picture. It's looking wonky, but who knows? You never know. They love to do that kind of thing. All of a sudden, bam, they have a new challenger, and bam, it's going to be at Wrestle Kingdom. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. I don't think they're going to, once they start AEW, they're going to stay AEW, but they want to be the AEW established guys like Ric Flair. When Ric Flair, back in the early days, back in the Mid-South days, back when there's a lot more territories, he walked around as the NWA World's Champion, and he would go to different territories and defend that champion, but he was the NWA's World Champion. That's what it was. He was a branded guy by that company, and that's what they want. They want to be the AEW brand, and they will appear at like a Ring of Honor show, possibly the Madison Square Garden. They're for sure going to wrestle their remaining dates, especially the Wrestle Kingdom one that they have coming up. But that doesn't mean that they're going to, not run their own shows. So, no, they're still going to be everywhere. Just maybe not as often as we're used to. So, maybe the PWG shows are done, which would suck, but they want to do their own thing. You can't blame them.
All right, then. I got one final question for you, then. There's a young man by the name, well, first of all, he's a golden lover. His name is Kota Ibushi, and he competed in the Cruiserweight Classic, and he was phenomenal in that, pun intended, AJ Styles. But he went on record as saying that he was offered a WWE contract and he had no desire. He would not leave Japan to wrestle in WWE. That's not what he wanted to do. However, now all his best buds in the world have AEW coming up, and every time I keep seeing these, I don't know if they're fan-made pictures or whatever the rumored rosters of who's already signed or who's going to be there. His name keeps coming up. Now, he was adamant about not leaving New Japan to go to WWE. Do you think they can convince Kota Ibushi to leave New Japan to go to AEW?
New Japan tried to convince him with multiple titles to sign to New Japan. He's a freelancer. He will travel the world and wrestle. I'm sure if the match was right and the pay was right and it was the right opportunity, he would go to an NXT and wrestle maybe one time, like a Shinsuke Nakamura, but it was just like a Jushin Thunder Liger. His one appearance at NXT TakeOver, he could do something like that. I'm sure he would. He would maybe be like a consistent competitor at AEW, but as a mainstay, no. I don't think he's moving to the States. I think Japan is where he's going to be, but he will continue to travel and jump around from promotion to promotion to promotion, lending his unbelievable talents to the wrestling world. So we're going to cut it kind of short. We are on a tight schedule, but like I said, it was the one and only thing we needed to worry about. I will throw out a couple of cool things. Silas Young, a two-time Ring of Honor television champion, and of course Pierre Carl Ouellet, PCO, is a 50-year-old man making a comeback, saying that the deal he signed with Ring of Honor is the greatest contract he's ever signed, not only in his just his career, but financially as well. He is also a former 3-time WWF Tag Team Champion. For those of you who did not know that fun stuff about Pierre Carl Ouellet. So, Emir, very quickly before we let you go, what do we have coming up? There was a whole bunch of nominees for RWT Awards. Vote for your boy for Podcaster of the Year. Do we have any more coming up?
We do. So I was doing them every weekday morning. I didn't announce any nominees this morning because, unfortunately, I ended up sick because I'm an old guy who forgot my age. And before I went to sleep last night, I wolfed down a bunch of hot Cheetos.
Ooh.
And when I woke up this morning, there was flames shooting out of my arsehole. And that's how that went. And so I ended up calling off work. But tomorrow morning, I will announce the next award and its nominees. And there will be an announcement every day this week and next week and so on until all the awards have been announced. But I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, every award will be announced. Every time there's something announced, there'll be a link for whoever's hearing to click on to go and vote. And then on January 1st, the show will come out. We also have coming out today or tomorrow, tomorrow or the next day, the top 10 contributors list for the month of November. A new episode of The Future Is Now, hosted by Mike Larkin. And sometime this week or next week, the first episode of a new RWT show that's called RWT Road Trip, which basically is I go to so many WWE pay-per-views that I've started chronicling and like doing like a documentary style, filming all this stuff. And then when I come home from the shows, I compile all the footage into an episode of RWT Road Trip. And so that first episode will air this week or next week here for December. So a lot of good stuff coming up. And Moses Marquez, having the Smart Mark Radio brand in RWT has been fantastic. The content has been great. And you are doing great work, man. It's great to have you. So I want to definitely thank you for all that.
No, thank you. I'm happy to do this work. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you're an awesome co-host. We're always coming up with different ideas. We're definitely have to come back a little later this week. There is a little bit more news happening, but we got to find a little bit better time. All those new shows like The Future Is Now, you can find that at soundcloud.com/smartmarkradio and, of course, on RWT YouTube page. Road Trip starts, you said, sometime next week. That'll be exclusive to YouTube. It is a video thing. I'm a little envious. I'm attempting to go to Raw next week, and I kind of want to steal your idea of filming a bunch of stuff, but who knows? We'll see what happens there.
I'll tell you what, man. RWT Road Trip doesn't just have to be about Emir Black Bane Costello. If you film a bunch of your stuff going to Raw, documentary style, you send it to me, we can have a whole Smart Mark Radio episode of RWT Road Trip.
What do you know? I may just have to make that one happen. Oh, I'm losing my voice already. So, we'll come at you guys later this week. We are going to talk TLC, all that fun stuff, and a whole bunch more. So, again, keep your ears plugged to SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/smartmarkradio, RWT on the YouTube page. Emir, thank you so much. Have a great night, dude. We will talk again later this week. Thank you all, and good night.